Hello, I'm DRoger, General Counsel for the Las Vegas Police Protective Association. Today I'd like to talk to you about a recent U.S. Supreme Court case dealing with the community caretaking doctrine. But to refresh your memory, let's talk a little bit about the doctrine. In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court decided Cady versus Dombrowski. This was a case where a person had been involved in a wreck. The vehicle was abandoned on the side of the road, and the officers or troopers impounded the vehicle. In completing the impound, they knew that the individual had a firearm, and they searched the trunk and found a firearm, which ended up being incriminating evidence. The U.S. Supreme Court addressed the warrantless search of the trunk, and this wasn't based upon the traditional inventory that we all know. And so the U.S. Supreme Court said frequently officers investigate vehicle accidents in which there is no claim of criminal liability and engage in what, for want of a better term, may be described as community caretaking functions, totally devoid or divorced from the detection, investigation, or acquisition of evidence relating to the violation of a criminal statute. And they said because the police weren't searching for evidence and they were just trying to get an abandoned vehicle off the roadway, that the search was appropriate, and the term community caretaking function has been carried on by a number of courts. However, the U.S. Supreme Court warned that there is a distinction between a search under the doctrine of a vehicle and the search of a residence. And as we all know, a residence has a higher expectation of privacy. And so in 2021, a couple weeks ago, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down the case of Caniglia, C-A-N-I-G-L-I-A, versus Strom, S-T-R-O-M. This is a case where an individual was threatening to commit suicide. His wife called the police. They convinced the individual to a legal 2000 type of commitment, and they promised the individual, the male, that they would not seize his guns. After the male was transported, the police went to the wife and said that the male wanted them to impound the guns, and so she allowed them into the residence and they impounded the firearms. The male then turned around and filed a 1983 civil rights lawsuit against the police for violating his civil rights, for entering his home and taking his firearms without a search warrant. Consent was not an issue because they lied to the wife about the male wanting them to impound the guns. And so this case went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court issued a very short but direct opinion. And they said that the community caretaking doctrine does not apply to homes or a person's residence. They said that the community caretaking doctrine under Cady versus Dombrowski was really limited to vehicles, and it certainly didn't apply to homes. And so the point of all of this is that sometimes I think we rely on the quote community caretaking doctrine unquote to conduct warrantless searches. And so if you don't have a person's consent, you don't have exigent circumstances, and you don't have a search warrant, you can't rely on the community caretaking doctrine to enter a home to conduct a seizure. As always, if you have any questions, please contact me at droger@lvppa.com. Visit my website on your phone or PC at davidroger.us. Thank you.
111, 110.